Invading the internet, covering Web 2.0, coast to coast, worldwide, and everywhere in between. This is where you put the social in social media. We are Social Blade.
Hello, everyone. This is definitely the Social Blade Show. This is the show where you learn so much about social media that your mind will explode by the end of this hour. This being episode number 60 means that it's the Diamond episode. For those of you who have been able to make it to like some kind of 60th anniversary, whether it's in life or in marriage or anything else, then you're probably not watching this show because it's about social media. But if you are, I don't want to be anti geriatric here. Hi, I'm one of the co-hosts of the Social Blade Show. I am JD Rucker.
I'm Aaron Ryan.
I'm Jason Ergo.
And I am Jeff Crowder.
And today's 60th episode, the Diamond episode of the Social Blade Show, is a very special one to me personally because I get to interview my boss. Tonight we have a very special guest, Richard Valenta, who is the CEO of TK Car Sites, as well as basically the leader and commandant of a company that I participate in as well, which is Husai. So between TK Car Sites and Husai, Richard pretty much runs the show. I just get all the credit and get to do all the interviews. So I'm getting to interview him tonight, and that's going to be a whole lot of fun. I got him here in my office. I'm going to turn the camera so you can get a quick glimpse. Hopefully my desk isn't too dirty.
Hello, Richard.
There we go. There's Richard. Can you see him?
Hello out there?
How you doing, Richard?
The camera?
Hi, Richard.
Camera now. Hey, let's
Okay.
let's look to see what the camera looks like with you. There we are, Richard. Beautiful, excellent. So yes, this is I rarely broadcast from the office, but today I am because it just made total sense rather than having him come over to my house. Tonight, though, is the only way to put it is that tonight's show is jam-packed with social media, thrills, spills, and automobiles. That's not true. There's no automobiles tonight. But there are going to be thrills. Starting off with Digg. Digg.com, for those who don't know, for those who haven't visited in a while, has made some changes. And as a result, one of their primary people, the co-founder, the former CEO, the current CTO, and probably a man who's going to be potentially gone from Digg here in a couple of months, Kevin Rose, had an interview at TechCrunch during the TechCrunch Disrupt conference, and it was pretty revealing, very candid, very much like Kevin has always been a candid guy. We always appreciate that, but he let out a few tidbits of information that were pretty surprising, including the idea that they were offered $80 million for the site, and they turned it down. This was during the heyday of Digg. We don't know exactly what time or when this was, but approximately the offer was $60 million plus about a $20 million earnout, of which Kevin was happy. He was pleased. I don't think that was his exact expectation, but it was enough for him to say, let's do it. And the board said no. And now the board thinks, man, wish we could have done that. Digg has been having challenges lately. Seems to be getting back on track. I don't want to talk too much about it, but I would like to mention that today, Jen Burton and the community manager at Digg, as well as runs basically a very solid community team, put out a post, and they seem to be making changes that are bringing Digg back a version, so to speak, which is in many ways good. They brought back upcoming a couple weeks ago. They brought back today the submissions page. Lots of big changes over at Digg. Ergo, have you checked it out?
I actually haven't, honestly. I got so turned off by the new site. There was too much garbage on the front page and whatnot. I wasn't finding the news I needed, so I honestly haven't been there recently.
Well, based on comments made in a few different threads about the spam, this actual post was called something to the effect of, yes, we know that about the top news spam problem. They got attacked, and so spam was hitting the front page, the top news page, and this was one of the responses. Again, they brought back certain things. They gave us tips and advice, telling us to tip, to hide and/or report bad stories, blah blah blah. Long story short, there's good and there's bad right now at Digg, in my opinion. So you have good news, which is that some of the changes that a lot of people were against are basically these features are coming back, so to speak. Being able to see what you submitted or what other people submitted, it was widely viewed as a positive, I guess, reversion back to the old way. When they took that away, a lot of people were pretty upset. Addition of upcoming, all of these good things, the spam filtering, the acknowledgement of their moderation team, these are great. But then there's the bad, and the bad is just coming out from the guy on top. To me, the statements that Kevin made, saying that he was burnt out, that he might not be there after 2010, that he wanted to take the money and run, but he wasn't. But he was overruled. That they made mistakes, and he acknowledged that. But it was a team that made mistakes as well as him. All these things point to me as a guy that's saying, "Hey, my site's going down, and I need to protect myself. I need to make statements that will allow me to be considered a strong potential angel investor, to get some new startups going, some new websites going. Opinion, not fact, but it sure sounds a lot like a guy who's clearing his name from an aberration, so to speak. Jeff, did you read anything into this?
Yeah, and I think the one thing I have a big problem with the way he went about the interview and the way he portrayed himself and the way he is getting burnt out. And I think we'll learn more about this when Richard speaks. That leading a company, being the CEO of a company, is as much as keeping morale high in actual leadership than it is managing day-to-day operations. And what does that say to the entire staff of Digg, all the employees at Digg who are working extremely hard, and they see their idea champion in Kevin Rose talking about, I wish we took the $80 million. We've made huge mistakes here and there, and I really am getting burnt out. I mean, what do you feel as the employee when the founder, the guy who fostered this idea, who grew this community with his hands, is basically saying, I want out. I don't want to be here anymore. And what is that? How does that show to the community? The guy who came up with this is even saying, I don't want to be here anymore. So why should I stick around?
Well, the only other thing that, a lot of times CEOs take the plunge, or he's not the CEO, but, someone has to take the blame for this type of thing. I guess they fired the VP of engineering, but if someone steps down on their own accord, that's also...
But I think I think you cannot blame Kevin Rose for it. If I'm Digg, I do not blame Kevin Rose for it. Because Kevin Rose... No, you don't. Because Kevin Rose is the brand of Digg. He's the personification of Digg.
But he has a lot of say.
I understand that, but you want to keep Kevin as clean as possible. Because he's the guy who came up with the platform, the idea champion at the beginning, and he's the one who's been pushing it. And if you drag him through the dirt and put the blame on him, make him the scapegoat, who's going to be that personification of Digg who will stand up for Digg, when the going gets tough or when it's going downhill?
But it has gone downhill. He's not really standing up for it.
Well, he's standing up for, it's, again, I don't want to put words in his mouth because he is a person who says what he feels. Basically, he's very reactionary. A lot of times there were times during the town hall meetings where he would start to say something, and Jay would Jay Allison, former CEO, would kind of hush him up a little bit, make him watch his tongue and all this stuff. Kevin just kind of tells it like it is, and so it's just that the fact that these things did come out the way they did, that he wasn't just all gung ho. Hey, yeah, he didn't come out and say, look, guys, these changes, I guess to me, a CEO or a leader in a company, regardless of whether he has the title of CEO or not. Well, let me just ask you, Aaron, who is the new CEO at Digg? Too slow. Jeff, who is the new CEO at Digg?
I don't know. It came from Emerson.
Who's the new CEO at Digg?
I have no idea, but I know you tried to call him. That's all. I
did try to call Matt Williams, who nobody knows. Could you tell me what color hair he has?
Brown.
Black.
Okay. Yeah,
Brown.
We're getting there. Point being is that Matt Williams might be the incoming CEO. Kevin Rose is Digg. And so when Kevin Rose comes out, let's call a spade a spade. Kevin Rose saying negative things about Digg and not being, to me, a real CEO when their site's in trouble, when their company's in trouble, or a real leader in a company is going to come out and say something to the effect of, look, yeah, We went through, we made some mistakes, and but guys, we're fixing them. Traffic is down now, but we're seeing signs of it returning. We believe that once we've listened to the community, we know what they want. We're bringing these things back, and we're addressing other channels to try to make sure that this company is going to be successful. I can see us being very successful in 2011. We're going to have to take a big hit in 2010, and that's what we're in the middle of. But sometimes the night is darkest just before the dawn.
Nice Dark Knight reference.
That was
but I do think you have a problem with your front man, if that's what you're using Kevin as, is the front man.
But that's not what anybody is using him as, Jeff. But Jeff,
hold on,
that's the thing.
I want to ask Richard here real quick. I'm going to turn the camera and ask Richard. Richard, you've had times when you've been, company goes up, company goes down. We're in the tech industry, so this happens. Have you ever gone out publicly and said, you know what, I'm just burnt out?
Never.
Would
Never
you?
would do it.
Even if the company, even if we were in trouble and we were getting foreclosed on or something, which we're not. This is our brand new office. I want you guys to see it. It's awesome.
JD has not done anything to his yet.
No, I've not. I as you can see, my bookcase is empty.
Pictures aren't gonna hang.
I never learned how to read.
You're an absolute skull.
But no. But if things were going bad, do you come out and say, look, we messed up, and I don't know if I'm going to be here in 2011.
Well, I've got a question. How many employees does they have?
I think they're down to about 60. I'd like to say
60 employees.
Yeah, approximately.
If anything, you would never want to demoralize your employees, your troops, because that's what you're going to do. No matter what you say, no matter what people perceive you from the outside, if you take the team that's leading you into battle and that needs to get you out of this situation and demoralize them, you're toast.
That's exactly true.
Amen. Because you devalue their effort, you devalue their work, and essentially they don't want to work for you anymore. Because they feel there's no value in it, and it spreads like a cancer. And if it spreads like a cancer, it consumes you, and you're over.
Talking down about the very company that they're trying to build for you. And that's just bad.
Yeah, it is bad stuff. And speaking of a cancer, Aaron, you have something to tell us about Facebook, correct?
Yes. First of all, since we're on the topic of CEOs tonight, Facebook, as you guys know, and I'm so excited, the Facebook movie, The Social Network, is coming out tomorrow. So we'll be having some reviews on that, some discussion on that when that has been watched. What I'm going to talk about, though, is Facebook is growing, and their CEO, although he's very honest to the public, and maybe that's what Kevin's trying to do, is he's trying to follow in Zuckerberg's footsteps, which might not be a good thing for him because Mark has been pretty straightforward from the beginning. However, he's never, ever put down his employees or the site. He's only said he doesn't care about our privacy. But anyways, as they've decided to grow more so in the recent days, actually, more information has been coming out, such as we stated today, high resolution photos now. So you got to be careful about those pictures you're putting on Facebook, even more so, because they're going to be in better color. What I'm going to talk about tonight is Facebook's likes. We joked about, what's with this likes? But Facebook's likes is becoming more important for search. And as we know, they've been battling it out with Google. And they might win. I'm thinking maybe by next year, we're going to see Facebook either tying it up with Google or surpassing them. Facebook has actually added when your friend likes an article. So for instance, if they went to your website right now and you have that Open Graph API, the like button on your website, and they click that like button and it comes up in your newsfeed as it's supposed to since they're your friend. Now when you search on Facebook and when they actually look to optimize their search, which they're going to be doing very, very soon, when you start searching for that article, it's going to start dropping down within your search feed. So you'll be able to find it just like that, really fast, easy, simple, through keywords. And what I enjoy about it, I think it's going to be, and they're working on it more and more, but they're going to make it as though likes are going to replace links. Because where Facebook is a social network and Google is a search engine, you have a higher chance of going viral on Facebook because they click like, and then people who like it will actually share it. Or on Google, if they like it, they read it, they move on. So that's where I think Facebook might be taking over, and that's their intentions, is they want likes to replace links. And as they go forward, I'm kind of excited to see what happens here, because, you know, you have more of a chance to go viral, and I'm not for the whole viral thing. I don't think that you can, you know, you always hope for the best, but you can't make it happen. But the chances of you actually having the opportunity to is more so on Facebook than on Google.
The problem I have with this, if there's a lot of weight that goes along with it, is it the quality of the person who likes it or the quantity? Because if it's the latter, then I think you might have a problem. I think you might get people trying to game the system. There are a lot of Facebook profiles out there who basically sell their services to be used for, you know, fans or views, or quite possibly to click that like button.
Weren't you also saying, though, that it's, if you like it, it'll show up in the search results of your friends? So, I mean, if
right,
there's
it's only in your friends. It's not global. So here, let me read you what Facebook said.
Hold on.
Okay?
So if you're friends with one of these people that are just liking a billion things, then just unfriend them and you won't get that anymore.
Or hide it in your news feed. Yeah. Let me just read what Facebook had to say. Quote, "We launched the ability to see articles shared by your direct friends in the search type ahead. For instance, if your friend is on a news site and clicks like under one of the articles, which will then go into their newsfeed, like I said, when you go to search for that article on Facebook, it will surface in the dropdown. Most significant is that the content displayed is only available for articles shared by your direct friends, not globally to all users on Facebook. Additionally, this is not surfaced to you based solely on number of likes for the article." So you're not seeing it based on number of likes.
I originally thought it was something to where articles on certain sites would get more clout in terms of like search engine search result. You know what I'm talking about? To where if a certain article gets 1,000 likes, it would have more clout when you're searching for that specific keyword in Google or Yahoo, for instance.
You have to keep in mind that likes is not, when you hear the word likes, it's like some kind of rating system, but it's not. That's not the intention for Facebook, to have likes as a rating system. And they're not using that in the search for it to be that way. It's actually, if you're actually interested in finding something, you will no longer, and in the near future, this is only going to get better, let me tell you, okay? So they're actually going to have really good search results, and you won't have to leave Facebook. In fact, they're also thinking about with the Facebook points that you're able to have right now. In the near future, you may not even have to use PayPal. You may be able to purchase something online just via your Facebook account. And that's the things that we're starting to see unfold, and they're starting to talk about with Facebook. And a lot of changes are again, upcoming, which excites me, because that only means that we're going to have more access to things. I know it scares some, but at the same time, it's like we are doing what Mark said, you know, and that's the thing. In my opinion, to be a good CEO is when you say something, you have to follow through.
Well,
Mark,
hold on. I want to answer something real quick in the chat. Sonny says, can you judge the quality of your person on Facebook? What will you base it on? Friend count? How much they update? Well, I think the same thing applies to clout scores. If you go to clout, KLOUT.com, it measures the clout of a certain person on Twitter, which basically means measuring the quality of a person would be who they interact with, how far their messages reach when they use them, and the amount of influence or, you know, retweets, replies they would have. So in Facebook, I would think, yeah, generally who your friends are, how much your messages get amplified, and how much of the messages you have start conversation. That's my input.
Well, that too, but you know, if it's your friends, or if it's people you're looking for that have good influence that you want to be inspired from, base it on what kind of content they give out. Because regardless of if you put Open Graph API on your website or on your blog or anywhere else, you know, it is going to be dependent on if it's likable. And if you make good content, and that's what it really comes down to, is you make good content, then people are going to click the like button. In regards to Stephen, when he says, which I think is better, because credit cards will charge you a foreign transaction fee. what they're looking for too is that Facebook is going to, with their Facebook credits, is you're not going to have to fill out all this information like you have to do when you go to like eBay or when you go to PayPal, that type of thing. You're just going to be able to have it right there and be able to use it and apply it on various websites. So that's exciting, and I'm going to keep my eye on it.
Just to play devil's advocate on that, I mean, you'll have to fill out your credit card information and everything on there the first time, so it's linked up. And I mean, that's the same thing with PayPal. Once you're on a website that has PayPal or Google Checkout, that's another competitor.
Not necessarily, because it might actually allow you to link to certain things. I don't know yet, but I'm gonna keep my eye on it. But the thing is that you might not have to fill things out, because right now you can have Facebook
you fill
Connect
it out the first time.
To certain things.
Time.
I don't know. We'll see. But I do want to say that he is following through. He is following through on what he said. He said he wants to make the internet more social. So I'm all for Zuckerberg, because tomorrow, of course, that's the smartest thing about a business. It's a business. That's what it comes down to. And I'm praising him up tonight, because I know after tomorrow night my Facebook newsfeed is going to be full of "I hate Mark Zuckerberg," but we'll see.
I will say this real quick. I would like to do a post between now and next week. By next week's show, I would like to do a post about how at some point, like now perhaps, Facebook and Zuckerberg should both be, in my opinion, as an entity and as an individual, should be working towards how they can improve the world rather than how they can improve their own business model. To be perfectly honest, it's they're big enough. They have clout. They can actually make a difference in the world, and they're just not. And I'm going to curse if I don't stop right there.
Well, we talked about
I think
the school thing last week.
Don't even.
Yeah,
don't,
man, that's not.
Don't. Now I'm going to curse. I am going to curse right now. I am going to curse. Well, just for those who don't know, this is a family-friendly show, so I can't curse on the show. So I'm going to go to Twitter and curse, and I wonder how many people are going to retweet me. Let's find out.
Well,
damn it, nobody retweeted me.
Funny.
Why not?
Funny you say that, because most tweets produce 0 replies or retweets. Actually, there was a study done, and they sort of compared. I think it was over a course of 2 months, millions of tweets, and they graphed out overall the trends here. And basically 71% of all tweets had no measurable reaction, at least in the sense of retweeting or replying. They didn't actually take into account people clicking on links or anything like that, which I think was kind of flawed with this study. But regardless, if they're just measuring inner Twitter action, there was no reaction at all there. There was 23% of the tweets did get @replies, and of those @replies, 85% of those tweets, of that 23% again, only got 1 reply. So very, very few tweets got replies at all, and of that, almost the entire amount only got 1 reply. So it's very rare that people get more than 1 reply on a tweet. Now, as for retweets, only 6% of tweets generate a retweet, so that's 6 out of 100 of your tweets will be likely to get a retweet. And of those, 92% happened within the first hour. So basically, if you didn't get a retweet within the first couple of minutes or so of sending out your tweet, it's pretty unlikely that you'll ever get retweeted on that one.
So wait, hold on. Is this including the actual retweet button as well?
I believe it is. Yes, I think I'm not 100% certain, but I do believe that if they did this, I would imagine they would take both into account there.
I don't know, because it's showing here like RTs, right? And when you do RT, but it's like that. It's so easy to hit that. It's just an
abbreviation. That's just an abbreviation there, though.
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully, because the thing is, it's so easy to hit that retweet button. It's not really all that great. I'm not saying that, but it's easy. So you think that it would be effective.
Yeah, but there are a lot of sites where they produce pretty good quality content and it doesn't get retweeted hardly at all. I mean, if you think about how vast the web is, I mean, the web isn't full of like the Mashables and the Social Blades of the world. I mean, even if you search like Twilio, for instance, if you go through just your local area and see who is using Twitter in your area, the people who use it a lot, the power users, are very small percent, and the people who, the majority of them have like 50 followers or 70 followers, and there really isn't a whole lot of retweeting going on. There's just a lot of conversation, no real messaging. Does that make sense? No sharing of content.
Yeah. No, I know.
So I was just.
But that only tells me that Facebook is better. So
Well,
it only comes to my side.
Yeah. No, I was even just trying to look through the report here. Sysomos was the one that did the report, and I couldn't find anything on their page saying specifically if they did count those or not. So I'm not sure if the button.
Do you
make a good
believe
point.
Twitter is more about sharing content or the conversation?
Mm-mm.
I think it's a little of both, quite honestly. I don't know. You're probably right. It probably is more of just sharing content, not necessarily
See,
conversation.
Facebook, I see it as more as sharing content, where actual Twitter, the
disagree.
platform,
No.
is more about the conversations that you have with people.
Next week's
Whoa,
show.
this is-
Next up, before you go there, Aaron, I can already hear. You're in Canada. I'm in Southern California, and I can hear your blood rushing to your brain right now as you're about to attack Jeff physically through Skype into his area room, whatever room that is. I think that this is going to make an excellent debate. Think we can do it, guys? Put Aaron and Jeff, and me and Ergo will sit back and let them discuss conversation versus content on Facebook.
All right. Just by the way, we sort of during this segment here, we had a real life example of this here. We tweeted that we were live talking about most tweets not getting any retweets, and actually, I got 3 retweets on that. So
I only got 2. Darn you!
Because, oh man, come on, that's
I did
No,
the
but
same.
can I just say this, though?
Never mind. I got
yeah.
4.
Get your
I got
point in.
4.
I just wanted to say that this is interesting that that's what you think, because I think the opposite, and perhaps that's why we feel differently about each social network. So it's like I think of Facebook more as, and we talked about this before. I wrote the article of, it's the sit-down restaurant, and Twitter's the fast food restaurant, and so it's like, to me, it's like I'm sitting at the dinner table talking to my friends on Facebook, and people I don't necessarily know in real life, but Twitter's more like you share what's going on, breaking news, that kind of stuff.
And I'll say this, and then we'll let it marinate till next week. And I thought the same way you did until I actually got deeper into Twitter and started participating in hashtag chats, such as Marketing Monday chats, hashtag MMChat, where there's actual conversation dialogue happening. And I've actually had some really good conversations with people that were just like I would be having them face-to-face, or like we're doing right now in 140 characters. And I've never had that experience before on Facebook, nor have I had the sort of social high you get after having a just genuine great conversation over a social platform. And, after I started diving deeper into Twitter, into the hashtag chats, and actually starting dialogues, I came to believe that Twitter, in terms of conversation, is just better suited for it than Facebook is.
Well, guys, I'm going to cut us off right there. We are diving way too deep into this particular topic because I'm telling you, this is going to be a juicy conversation. I cannot wait for the fireworks. Remember, everyone, Thursdays, 7 p.m. Pacific, the Social Blade Show, brought to you by lightspeednow.com. I think that in many cases, a good portion of whether it's content, whether it's conversation, are people retweeting, are they not? By the way, I'm up to 8 now, Ergo, so I'm ahead of you. But some people don't. Some people don't get involved in the conversations. They don't post. They don't do anything. They're just there to watch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Actually, there was another study here done, and it sort of showed that in general, more people are definitely, as you said, in it to watch and not actually create content. But not only that, it actually looks like, not by a significant amount, but the amount of people creating in social media is actually going down in the past year. That means people posting videos on YouTube, people creating blogs and posting stories on blogs, and actually, feeding into the environment, not just consuming it. And it's not really totally significant. It was 24% of the U.S. population were creators last year and only 23% this year. So, I mean, don't get all worried, but still, it's only about a quarter of the population that's actually creators.
Terrified.
You're terrified. So, I don't know. Just think even amongst yourselves and your own groups, do you think you've seen less people creating recently?
Yeah,
I
the only stuff I ever read is what Jeff and Aaron put out, because they do more creating than anyone I know. So they have they have all the creation that I need.
Aw, that was so touching.
Oh, shucks.
I was just telling Richard about I don't want to segue too quickly into the next one, but that's an exciting one for us. So can't wait for that one. So I'm gonna bite my tongue right there and let somebody else say something. They didn't say anything, so I'm gonna go ahead and segue past that.
Go for it.
Wait, I was gonna answer.
Go ahead.
I was gonna answer the question. I didn't notice less social media going on.
I thought it'd been increasing. I mean,
yeah,
it's just
I thought more.
No, guys, don't
think-
forget. It's increasing. Hold on. It's increasing because of bulk, because social media itself is growing, but the percentages
Yes.
are
so you're saying
dropping.
for every 10 who are entering into social media, only 2 are creating.
Right,
Yeah.
and they break it down even more also. You can see all the different percentages here. Joiners is what you're talking about there. Joiners are people that, join for the first time. You create your Facebook account. And 51% were joiners last year, and 59% are joiners this year. So that did go up. And spectators went down a little. That joiners, I think, is the biggest increase. The only increase, really.
Social media, just like everything else, every other aspect of technology follows the whole bell curve, repetitive, the ebb and flow aspect of life. As different social media sites grow, they reach certain tipping points. Like first, when Twitter used to be completely active. I mean, very few people. You were basically chastised if you posted more than one link in a row. You post 2 links in a row, and that initial Twitter community would just rip on you. You had to be talking to people before you could post a link. Then it started getting into the mainstream, started gaining popularity, and it was. Let me just put in perspective. When I hit 10,000 followers on Twitter, at the time it was about 10% links and 90% conversation. I'm sitting in my office. I'm on the phone with my mom. I'm sitting at whatever. Then it switched. And at those times, I could put a tweet with 10,000 followers. I could post a tweet and get between 5,000 and, depending upon the retweets, I could get. I had a couple of times when I got over 30,000 unique visitors from a single tweet, and that's when I had 10,000 followers.
Yeah.
I've now gone tenfold, and no exaggeration, I can post a link, and it might not break triple digits, the number of clicks on that link. That's how bad it's gotten. And it's not bad, don't get me wrong, it's changed. It's not that I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing. It's just there's so much spam, there's so much less engagement. People have isolated themselves and kind of gone away from the whole what's on Twitter? Nope. Now it's more what's happening with the people that I trust. What's happening with the news sources that I'm following, or the people that I'm following or interacting with. They keep it into their own little world of Twitter. So they've taken their real world, which used to be Twitter was great for discovery. You could meet. I mean, I remember how amazed I was having a Twitter conversation with somebody I forgot which it was, a South American country, and we had like a 4-hour Twitter conversation at one point. And I was just amazed that I'm tweeting back and forth with somebody who nowadays it's like, oh my gosh, I only want to read the tweets from the people that I absolutely know and the news sources that are putting the breaking news out there. And that's it. Which for me right now, the only news source that puts out breaking news is Ergo. If you follow this guy, if it's tech and it happens, I mean, it's sick that he's on top of it just like that. He gets it mostly from Reddit. So, but yeah. So he used to get it from Digg.
News.google.com, actually.
Exactly.
Or Twitter itself.
So anyway, but long story short, yes, the engagement level has dipped, and people are joining, people are coming in there, all of that good stuff. It's just a change, guys. Everything's going to be completely different in 6 months, and then it's going to be completely differenter, a new word on Social Blade Show, differenter in a year.
But that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah,
and that's what keeps it fresh, and that's what keeps it from becoming stagnant.
Oh, absolutely. It's for those of us who love social media, it's a great thing. For Richard, I mean, he has to oversee the product and the development and everything. Social media is a huge part of our team our product offering at TK Car Sites, and the changes just drive him crazy because he has to come up with different standard operating procedures.
Iron.
Yeah. Even today. So yeah, it can be a hassle. But we'll get to Richard in one more moment. I think we've got one more story about one of my a guy that I personally I have a great admiration for, the social media, basically the guy who put forward into Web 2.0. Somebody, was it Aaron? Was it you or Ergo? Somebody went and met him, right?
It was the Kreider.
Yeah.
Jeff Kreider.
Well,
Nice.
if you guys were watching the Social Blade show, I think it was 3 weeks ago, I was broadcasting from a hotel room in Dearborn, Michigan. And I was up there getting ready for a meeting with Scott Monty. I had noticed Scott poking around one of our blogs that I write for, which is Ford Life. It's ford-life.com. And I sent a nice email to him asking him if we were going to be planning a trip up to Dearborn, and could I have 15, 20 minutes of his time. And when we got up there, 15, 20 minutes ended up being an hour and 15 minutes. And this guy, if you ever get the chance to meet Scott Monty, is tremendous. His office is on nearly the top floor, but he is a guy who acts like he works on the bottom. Very humble, down-to-earth guy. And it's not just all automotive. The conversation wasn't just all automotive. It was really about social media. And first and foremost, he's a social media person. And if you follow Scott Monty on Twitter, at Scott Monty, you'll see that he is very successful in social media in his own right. And if you go to the article, we wrote an article up on it. We also broke down our interview with him into 8 separate videos. One of them, the first one, talks about how he got into social media, which is a pretty interesting story. He accidentally found social media, was working for an advertising agency that was B2B. Describes how, if you know anything from B2B, it is 18 months lagging in terms of trends. So he left the agency, went to another agency that was more specifically consulting clients on how to use social media, worked with companies like Coca-Cola and built up their social media presence, caught the eye of Ford, and that was all she wrote. But if you listen to the whole first half of the interview there, where he talks about how he got into social media, it is truly interesting. The other parts of the interview that we got into was, for those of you who use social media for business, is how to build online relationships with people. He goes into talking about how going onto these online channels is like going into a cocktail party. And if you're using social media for business, you wouldn't go into a cocktail party and just start handing out your business cards to everyone. That wouldn't be the right thing to do. You'd get looks the wrong way, and you probably would be shunned to the door. Same thing with social media, especially on the business side, is you want to start the conversation. You want to have those conversations lead to relationships. And he goes on to say that over time, you start to build expectations, you start to build relationships, and ultimately you build trust, which is the key thing when you're trying to sell a product to somebody. Did
he mention where he got the cocktail party analogy from?
No, he did not.
Okay, just making sure.
Do you know a story behind that one, or?
Seems to be floating around.
I have an idea.
Ooh, sharesies. What? Let us know. Let us in on the secret.
I'll send you guys a link.
Yeah.
From,
I mean, I've heard that analogy used before, and I've actually used that same analogy in conversations with people before this interview.
So you're using it too?
Yeah, I've used it as well.
I should have written.
You should trademark it if it was you.
Trademark.
Joe Turner says Paul Rushing.
Anyway,
private joke. All right.
Getting back to the interview, he also touches on, in video 4, he touches on how to measure social media ROI, which is something that I think all of us who are trying to use social media business, are trying to figure out. It seems to be that elusive rabbit running through the woods that none of us can fully grasp. Well, he breaks it down really easily and says that measuring social media in its own right is very difficult. You can't measure the practice of social media, but you can measure social media through its impact on certain campaigns. So social media in its own right is very difficult, but if you measure it with a campaign, and he used the example of the Fiesta movement. If you haven't followed the Fiesta movement, it's actually a really good case study in how they use social media, how they democratize social media to the masses, to influencers who influence their community with using the Ford product. He also talked about their unveiling of the Ford Explorer and how the unveiling, measuring what happened on social media, as well as their other campaigns, you could tell that it was a successful campaign. But if they tried to measure it in its own right, it would be very, very difficult. He also goes into how to manage your online reputation, and especially for businesses who are in that service, customer service type of B2C industry. He talks how to use Twitter searches to see what people are talking about around your area, and how important it is to, if you come across a negative review, to respond to that review on the same platform. He used the example of Domino's when they had that incident a year ago with their employees basically defaming their pizzas. He said, to Domino's credit, they responded on the same platform that the incident occurred, which happened to be YouTube, and took care of it, and then from there dealt with it through PR. He also used the example of a restaurant in Arizona that a customer had posted a very negative review on Yelp. And the owner of that company came onto Yelp and just wrote this nasty response to the customer about their experience, and basically told them, don't come back, we don't want to see you anymore, and just really started this PR firestorm because they didn't know how to properly manage their online reputation. And what happened thereafter is that review got picked up in the New York Times, got picked up into the mainstream media, and it turned into this huge thing. And that person ended up causing more harm to their particular company than the negative review had. So he talked about how to utilize social media to really keep what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of keep your ducks in a line. See what people are talking about with your brand or your company, and respond to them accordingly. So really great interview, tremendous guy. We got a great group photo with him afterwards. I would really recommend going. In these videos, we've broken up into basically 1.5-minute segments, so they're not too long, but we picked the pieces that had the best information in them to share with all of you. And tremendous dude. He's going to be at Blog World. For those of you who are going to Blog World, I would highly recommend trying to seek him out. And just 5 minutes of his time can really just open the door to a lot of opportunities, and just the amount of knowledge that he can share with you can leave you really wanting to apply it to not only your personal but your business life. So all in all, it was a tremendous trip. Tremendous opportunities came from it, and including possibility of him being a guest on the Social Blade Show in the future, which would be awesome for you, our viewers. What a tremendous opportunity that would be for you guys to really see Scott Monty and kind of sharing his knowledge with you if you don't have the opportunity to meet him in person. So, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I get the feeling based upon based upon everything that you just said, that we pretty much just did have Scott Monty as a guest.
That's true.
I know him inside and out. He's 5'9".
What color of eyes does he have? Quick.
Huh?
Blue.
What color of eyes does
He
he
has
have?
brown hair,
Oh, Jeff,
light brown hair, brown eyes. He's a little bit, a little balding.
And he has a fake blow-up doll of himself. Like, it's kind of funny. If you look at the second video...
He had a fake blow-up doll of himself. Go ahead and open that closet behind you, Jeff.
No. No. If you watch the second video, they call it... They call it fake Scott Monty. It actually... fake Scott Monty actually has his own Twitter handle. It's fake Scott Monty. It's actually pretty funny.
You
Thanks
you've
for
made
putting
it
in that situation.
You know you've made it big time when people are making a fake account.
Yeah, exactly.
Fake Steve Jobs, fake Scott Monty, fake Jeff Kreider. That's me. No, nice. Yeah, and we will. Jeff is working on it. Scott did say that he was interested. We didn't get him locked down to a date, but he is interested in being a guest in the future. So hopefully Jeff will be able to close that deal and bring it home, baby. I'd like to reintroduce, since we're, Scott is in the automotive industry. So too is Richard Valenta, CEO of TK Car Sites. Richard, hello. Thank you for being with us. We had Richard on today. We're we definitely never use Social Blade as a platform to promote products or anything like that. So we're not
until now. Right?
Until now, no. We're not going to promote products here either. I did want to specify that one of the reasons that we brought Richard on is because TK Car Sites and Hasai, Hasai has been working on social media products for over a year now. TK Car Sites has been putting it out. We do have one that's coming out shortly. The point being that that Richard, as a CEO, has been more immersed in social media than the majority of them. And we wanted to get his insight because our theory, our philosophy, what we've been thinking from a Social Blade perspective over the last, probably, playing with it for the last 2 or 3 months, ever since we started looking at it from a business perspective, is that leadership in companies should be more involved in social media. We've seen some amazing examples of it with certain companies. Other companies are failing miserably, and we wanted to get Richard's insight into what it's like to be the CEO of a company that does work in social media, as well as is he himself involved in social media. And I know the answer to that, but you will find out soon. First off, any questions from our panel of co-hosts, and anyone who has questions in the audience, please feel free to ask, unless your name is Joe Turner. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to really pose a question of how important is it as the CEO of a company, as the leader of the company, to really, how can I put it, be on Facebook, be on Twitter, actually use these tools and know how to use them. How important is it as that CEO to really, because everyone else is learning how to use them, how important is it to set that example and apply, take the initiative, learn the platforms and how to use them, and in turn, make your company successful by it?
Well, with TK Car Sites, it's extremely important because we sell it. And so I have to know what's going on in social media in order to help dealers, and that's what we do, auto dealers, further their brands on social media. So for me personally, it's extremely important. But for any company out there, unless you get into huge, Fortune 500 companies, you might not want to do that and be public because of just the amount of things that you'd have to step through. But for up-and-coming companies or companies that are trying to further their brand, I think it's real important. I think you need to set the example, and you need to know what's going on out there.
So, being the President of the United States, you wouldn't recommend having a Twitter feed?
I'm
kidding. You don't have to answer that.
You got me there.
From a where does social media fit in? Let's say on a business to business or a business to consumer level. Jeff had mentioned what Scott Monty had said. How it's hard to measure ROI, but you're not really doing it for ROI. what's your opinion as far as what businesses can use social media for?
Any business can use social media, but what can they use it for? Right now, today, it's very hard to measure it, like Jeff said. But some of the things you talked about on the show today, Facebook's going to continue to monetize this, and they're going to continue to find new ways to do that. And measuring it and taking advantage of it as a business is just around the corner to levels that we don't even know today. And so those early adopters of social media are going to win big, no different than the early adopters of the internet when I first got into this industry. They were winning huge because nobody else was jumping into it. And so right now is the time to get into it. And irregardless of whether or not you can measure it, you can take advantage of it no differently than with that Fiesta movement like Jeff was talking about.
Excellent. Ergo, Aaron, any questions, or should I continue?
I have a question. If you had to choose between Facebook or Twitter, you knew this was coming, guys. Facebook or Twitter, what would you say on a personal level and on a business level?
Excuse me, can you repeat that again?
Here,
Sure.
You can move a little closer where I can't move the computer any closer.
I'm going to get close to JD here.
So it's a two-part question. Facebook or Twitter, on a business level, on a personal level, you personally?
Facebook.
On both?
Both.
All right.
So
JD actually runs the company here.
So why,
Fired.
Richard? Can you expand upon that? Why do you pick Facebook?
I find that Facebook gives me a lot more, and I can interact more with it. There's a lot more going on, I guess you could say. I'm not a big fan of the simpleness of Twitter. I hate to say that, but I enjoy Facebook.
And that seems...
Plus, most of the people I communicate with personally, on a personal level, wouldn't have anything to do with Twitter.
Right.
So
See, Ergo is a pro... I'm sorry, go ahead, Ergo.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, you're a programmer, I'm in social media, a lot of... right now, currently, if you were to... Aaron is the only true Facebook over Twitter person in our group. Jeff likes both. Ergo is definitely a Twitter guy. I am definitely a Twitter guy, but it is based on preference. Ergo and I, for example, we Aaron comes into the chat room the other day and starts mentioning some news, and Ergo and I are like yawning. It's like, oh my gosh, that's like, we saw that on Twitter like an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
She's like, but I just saw it on Facebook.
Which, by the way, brings us back to the earlier conversation we were having in regards to...
I already about it by the time you saw it on Facebook.
Yes, I know. And no, I had seen it on Twitter and on Facebook at this time, but this brings me back to the conversation we were just having, as in, is Twitter better for conversation or for breaking news? And you guys had seen the breaking news on Twitter, and it was a bit slower on Facebook. But I'm so happy, Richard, that you picked Facebook, because I said to these guys, I know he's going to pick Facebook. I get that few and far between. Everybody picks Twitter. I want to know on a level of being a CEO, if you're not selling the product, social media, and you are just thinking, maybe I need to get into social media. From a CEO standpoint, is that something that you would want to fear? Or is that something that they should embrace and possibly educate themselves upon?
I didn't hear the whole question, but it's definitely something you'd want to embrace.
As a CEO of a company, even like you're CEO of a company that sells social media, but even if you were the CEO of a company that sold sneakers, what would your opinion be about utilizing and embracing or avoiding social media?
It's a double-edged sword. You can't jump in halfway. That's definite. I was in a conversation with a gentleman who runs a pretty big company yesterday about jumping into social media as a CEO. And he oversees a company that is actually worldwide. And he was saying he wouldn't touch it. And the reason he wouldn't touch it is because he can't jump into it as much as he'd like to. And he believes that it would attract more negativity than it would do positive unless you're going full force. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So what would you say to somebody that's thinking that? Because a lot of CEOs or a lot of people that are higher up the ladder have that fear of maybe we're subjecting ourselves to negativity. Maybe we need to protect ourselves here. So what would you advise to someone that fears it?
Well, you're going to get the negativity either way. If you try to avoid it, you're going to get it somewhere. And I guess the best thing to say is, would you rather be in control of it, embrace it, do what Domino's did, do what Ford does? I'm sure there's people that have negative comments about Ford, and I'm sure they handle them very well. Or would you rather just sit back and let people talk negative about your brand and not do anything about it? And it's just going to happen. The world has changed, and you either change or you get left behind. And I think people are scared of it, but they're going to be left behind if they don't embrace it.
Well, that brings up a good point. That does bring up a good point, because basically, in what the other CEO is saying, what you're saying is, it's almost as if you're going to be the CEO of a company and you're considering social media, you're either all in or you're all out. If you're all out, you're leaving yourself open. If you're going to get in, you don't want to get in halfway, because you may do more damage than good. Is that what I'm understanding?
Exactly.
Okay.
I couldn't have said it by myself, Jim.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so we have a question from the audience. Yunho asks you, Richard, how are you tracking social media interactions? So what are your suggestions on tracking social media interactions?
How do you track social media interaction? Sorry, guys, but just from an echo perspective, I can hear, but you guys, he can't hear from back there. Maybe we should switch seats. But go ahead. How do you track social media interactions?
How do I track social media interactions? So you're talking analytics on certain. There's lots of different ways to track social media interactions. There's lots of different programs out there. It depends on what you're using. I mean, Facebook, I can track social media interactions looking at the Facebook analytics. I can do the same thing with Twitter and so forth. So if that's, hopefully that answers your question.
Well, there's from a company perspective, as businesses, there's millions of tools available. TK sells one, but the main thing is that you can always do it via search. You can do it via Google alerts to some extent, and then there's companies like Socialcast, Flowtown. I believe they're jumping into it. There's a lot of different companies out there that are doing.
So you're talking sentiment monitoring.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What are they saying to you? What are they saying about you? These are the things that every business has to know. What are we talking about?
There's lots of tools out there that'll do that.
Yeah.
We have two tools that our company uses right now to monitor sentiment on the internet.
Well, technically three, if you include Google.
If you include Google.
Yeah, I check Google every day, so I have it sent to my email. What's today? And I can see all of the nasty things that are said about me, and so I know what you're doing.
Anybody knows TK, and anybody sees where TK's mentioned. I mean, we get negative comments sometimes, but you should take a look and see how fast we respond. We're monitoring it. We're watching it.
Mm-hmm. So stop it, Joe.
On a lighter note, Katrina in the audience says, I wonder if Mr. Valenta has received Farmville notifications.
Farmville notifications?
How do you feel about that? Yeah.
Lots of them.
Have you ever tried it?
No, I have never tried it.
Don't.
Oh, good.
No.
But it's like nephews and nieces and
Just wait
family.
till that's what you think at
You know, I
first.
tell him, I ask him, I'm from Nebraska. What the hell you want to be on Farmville? You just walk outside.
Go get a real cow. Okay, you guys.
It's
Can we
bad
do
enough
that?
when you're getting it. It's bad enough when you're getting it from your nieces and nephews. Wait until you get one from your grandmother, and then it's like, oh no.
Can we do the, let's get a little more social with Richard. Richard, can we ask you 4 questions about you?
About me?
This is a new segment that we do.
Personally.
Yes. These
I don't know. Why don't we talk about JD's telepathic social monkeys?
Oh yes, let's leave those in my garage.
Go ahead.
I do have telepathic social monkeys. Yes. We will
Wow.
talk about them today. This is a new segment that we started a couple weeks ago, or I believe last week on Social Blade. It's 4 questions with Aaron Ryan. Aaron, go.
Well, Jason, are you going to play the song?
Yeah, well, here we go.
Okay, if you were a car, what automobile would you be?
If I were a car, what automobile would I be? Do I have is this a time limit? Or?
Yes, these are free association. You've got actually 2 seconds. Mercedes-Benz S550.
Ooh,
Sexy.
that is nice. Okay, if you weren't sitting beside JD Rucker right now, who would your favorite Social Blade host be?
Why you, Aaron?
Oh, yay! Oh, that was reeled in. That was
No,
reeled in.
Jeff
Sorry.
Kreider's got this look, and he's just staring at me. He's not moving.
Frozen.
I am analyzing your soul.
Okay. Next.
Okay. Next question is, if you could be anywhere in the world, where would you be?
New York City.
Ooh, why?
What?
I don't mean ooh, why as in it's ooh. I mean, oh, why as in it's, that's nice. California or New York, you know? Why New York?
I love it. I've only been there a few times, but it's an awesome place.
He brought me a knish when last time we went.
What is a knish?
A knish is you're just gonna have to go to New York and find out.
It's a
Oh, can't share that kind
potato
of
dish.
part of the potato family. Yeah.
It's potato-ish. Knish. Last question.
Okay, last question. If you could, and I'm going to ask it on behalf of Jeff, because he wanted to know, if you could be a tree, what kind of tree would you choose to be, and why?
That's funny because I'd probably be a palm tree because I'd be sitting on a beach. But why would I say New York City is probably going to be your question?
Now you're all complex. Yeah. Yeah.
Very good.
And that's
it.
socializing Richard.
That's it. Ergo, play the music.
Cue music.
Sorry.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, I would want to be a palm tree too.
So, any last questions from the audience? And while those are coming in, I do want to ask if, you being a CEO of a company, are there any CEOs out there in social media or outside of social media that you look at and you say, man, those guys are just doing a great job, or that guy or that girl or whatever is just doing a great job at being a CEO? Do you admire any CEOs out there in the world?
In the social media age.
I'd say Ford, Alan Mulally.
Alan Mulally from Ford. And it's funny because if you ever look at his opinions on social media, it's, he is fully supportive. And he's one of those guys that he, and I did a lot of research on him personally. He's one of those guys that has, he says, I look at social media, I see that it's going to be something, I see that there's potential there, so I need to go hire me a Scott Monty. Pretty much is what he did. And that's what happened, and they've been successful. So yeah, Alan Mulally.
The other one, I want to say one more.
Oh, please.
Hasai, J.D. Rucker.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh.
We're gonna hug after the show. So,
Just one.
so yeah, any questions from the audience?
I just have one more question. You brought up Ford, but what do you think of Toyota and how they've bounced back using social media?
Toyota's done a pretty good job with social media. I'm really impressed with what they've done. But Toyota's always put out a good product. They have a good company. I think they lost their way a little bit earlier this year, but I have some sentiment on that I probably leave to myself. But they've done an excellent job with social media, and they have a great brand.
For those who haven't followed, go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry.
I said I think what you see is the core difference between what Ford is doing in social media and what Toyota is doing in social media is Ford has really tried to personify the blue oval. And by personify, I mean, online, Ford is Scott Monty. On Twitter, Ford as Scott Monty. And, the blue oval isn't just some nameless thing. It's Scott Monty and a few other people. And that's what Ford has really tried to do is, start the conversation around the blue oval and the people that represent it. Toyota doesn't have that type of person. They've done some great things on YouTube in terms of the Sienna family and everything. But what Ford has essentially done is, take that single person and really champion the new Ford in moving forward.
That's true. I never really thought about it that way, but that's true. He put a face, and Toyota's more putting families, but Ford has a face. So last thing before we let you go, because we've appreciated your time so much, we know it's valuable, Richard. Just quickly, what is the one tip you would give to someone who's either diving straight into social media or dabbling in it?
Watch the Social Blade show.
There you go.
Thank you. JD, slip him the 20 now.
Nice. Thank you so much. And there was actually one question from the audience. Joe Turner asked, how many Red Bulls has Richard had today?
Mm-hmm.
Joe, I'm kind of switching. I had 2 rock stars this morning, and I'm on my second Red Bull, so 4.
And that's a light day. What I do with Starbucks, Richard does with Red Bull, and that's how we run our companies. It's a mess. Richard, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, and thank you for dinner as well. Don't forget that today's episode was brought to you by lightspeednow.com. I'd like to thank the audience. The audience, you guys were fantastic, spectacular, and just the presence of some of you people has brought a tear to my eye thinking about how wonderful you all are. I hope you come back next week because it's next week is a very important week. We're going to be announcing the winner of our logo contest, which I think we were going to announce today, but I think I messed that up. And
no, we can't get a hold of the person. So
we can't get a hold of the person. That's why I messed it up. So have you ever seen Anchorman? You know how Anchorman reads whatever's in front of him? That's kind of what I just did, because this is actually copied from last week's doc. So I just read, and next week we'll announce the winner. The deadline is 5 days ago. What in the world? And blank you, San Diego. No,
we do have a winner, and yeah, we're just waiting to get confirmation from them that we can go public.
So
with
we have a winner, but there's a twist. There's a twist. Let's just put that out there.
Yes.
And I will not move from my position until that person contacts me.
You've been very intense and very, very professional looking at this.
At least it froze with that position. That's all I gotta say.
I know he's staring into my brain right now, and he's seeing nothing. So we do have a winner, and we're just waiting to get in contact with that winner. If you are the winner and you know who you are, please contact us because we can't seem to get a hold of you.
Or we're moving on. Or we're moving on to someone else.
Yeah,
so
that I think not only was he staring into my brain, but he was burning a hole into it. Thanks, Jeff. Don't forget to follow us, fan us, subscribe to us, comment to us. Just do everything to us because it's all about us. We. You are Social Blade, but we are also Social Blade. So follow us at Social Blade. You can go to twitter.com/socialblade. Same thing with Facebook/socialblade and YouTube/socialblade, and you can become a follower of us, because we are a cult, a social media cult. No, we're not. If you want to go to our blog, you can push on a button that says Suggest a Guest, and guess what you can do at the Suggest a Guest page? That's right. You can suggest a guest. We actually had Richard suggested to us last week, and it kind of made sense considering that, by golly, I know the guy, so might as well do it. He is very knowledgeable, as you can have just learned, and so we will listen to your suggestions in the future. Tell us who you want to see, and we'll see if there's somebody that we can get a hold of. The guy who continuously gets on there and request that we get Megan Fox on the show, I've already told you we will not get her on the show. She's not very social media-ish. Okay? When she joins Twitter, we'll get her on. She's been begging, she's been saying, gosh, I got to get on with that Jeff Kreider guy, but his intense stare is enough to keep her from getting on Twitter. So thank you again to all of you people. You're just wonderful people. You can read our social blade style social media posts at socialblade.com/show. Make sure that you sign up for SMS alerts. You can go there by going to j.mp/subus. That's j.mp/subus. You can sign up for Social Blade, which is Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. in Newfoundland or Nova Scotia, or where Aaron is now. You can also sign up for Ask Outcast, which is 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Band on the Web, which is 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Both of those are on Tuesdays, as well as the Drill Down, which is Wednesdays at 9:30 Eastern Time. Let's see.
He doesn't want to let you guys go yet. Can you feel that? He doesn't want to let it go yet.
I don't want to let go yet. I'm reading the notes as they're changing in front of me, and I'm so going to be yelled at by Ergo after the show for just messing up the ending. Ergo, why don't you take us away?
That you did very good. That's just keep on going.
Okay. Well, then I'm gonna end it off by saying that now and for the last 60 episodes and for the next 60 episodes, we are Social Blade.